Colts fans, sad day, man, sad day. I know you guys seen the preview earlier. I dropped talking about Julian Blackmon, but yes, he is out for the rest of the season, torn Achilles. Tough, 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 tough injury for Julian Blackmon and the Colts in general. I got my guy Lucas with me. How you doing today?
Well, I'm doing better than Julian Blackmon right now, which is not something I'd like to say.
Yeah, it's pretty rough for him. But appreciate you for joining the show. Let's go ahead and talk about Julian Blackmon. So, we did draft him as safety out of Utah. He was hurt coming into the draft. Let me know your thoughts about the Colts going to select Julian Blackmon and how do you think he was going to turn out?
Well, I was definitely underrating Julian Blackmon. I did like his tape before, but in the draft, I'm very uh, gun shy when it comes to injury concerns. I don't like drafting guys who have injury concerns coming out, and he was coming off of a major injury as well. So it was very scary for me to kind of put our hopes on him, but I was like, maybe if Malik Hooker stays healthy, he won't have to see too much time. And then, of course, Malik Hooker gets injured week one last year, and then Julian Blackmon surprisingly was available that early in the season, and he stepped in and filled really impressively for his rookie year. So he definitely exceeded my wildest expectations when healthy. The problem is now he isn't healthy.
Yeah, it was tough. The Julian Blackmon move coming out of the draft, I was kind of iffy on it. Like I said, same opinion as you. I wasn't really sold on getting a guy that was hurt coming out of the draft, but when we picked him up, I was like, all right, next man up. Let's see how he does. So when he actually got his chance and he blossomed like that, I was like, wow, this kid might be actually really good. I mean, he was a ball hawk, and it was one of those things like he's shown flashes of Malik Hooker, just the same type of tendencies. But unfortunately, he goes down with the injuries. He just got hurt again. How do you think this Colts? How do you think the injury affects the Colts moving on in this season?
Well, at this point, we do not have a single safety that can feel comfortable in a single high situation. Julian Blackmon was our most rangy guy. He was the best one for that kind of role, while him and Kari Willis could be used kind of interchangeably in the box. But Kari Willis is not the same in terms of his range deep, so you'd prefer to have Blackmon as the deep safety while Willis is kind of creeping in the box. So at this point, the depth is not there. There's a lot of injuries behind them on the practice squad. So uh, Marvell Tell is not healthy right now. Neither is TJ Carey, though he should be coming back from the IR soon. Ibrahim Campbell is injured. So right now, the only options are Sendejo, who is currently questionable heading into uh, this upcoming Sunday night game, as well as George Odom, maybe, who, while he's an all pro gunner. He's not an all pro safety. So, and his tape as a safety has been inconsistent to say the least. So, ultimately, it's not great for what we have on the roster. I'd personally be hoping for a outside move to kind of get a veteran safety in for the Colts.
Sure, see your point there. If we were in house, most people were predicting TJ Carey to go back to safety and to fill the role when he comes back. But George Odom, like we said, is another question mark that can, go out there and potentially replace the role for Julia Blackman until he comes back. But yeah, man, this injury is going to definitely, it's definitely going to bother the Colts. Like I said, I think all the in-house names except for George Odom, in my opinion, or TJ Carey, who used to play safety, are everyone else is just I'm not sold on it. I don't think they'll be good enough to cover Julian Blackmon until he returns. So you mentioned out of house names. Let me know some of the players you might want to Indianapolis to go after to get, or who could you potentially think could fill the role for Julian Blackmon? Who would you want to go for?
Well, if we could lure him out of his semi-retirement, Kenny Vaccaro would be interesting. He has declined several offers from NFL teams this offseason for a very interesting reason. He's currently the CEO of a game streaming company called Gamers First. So he's declined offers, but if we can lure him from his kind of retirement, he'd be a solid option, but not my favorite. Amongst the free agents, though, of the favorites, I'd say It'd be Trey Boston. He is a very, very interesting playmaking deep safety. He has 12 interceptions over the last 4 years. His tackling is a little bit inconsistent, but Kari Willis more than makes up for it in that department, and he's very rangy in the back. Uh, there are a few other guys who are veterans who have played 90 plus games as starting safeties, and they're on other teams' practice squads who the Colts could possibly pick up. One of my favorites of those is Haha Clinton Dix, who did not play in 2020, but in 2019, he was phenomenal as a coverage safety, especially he's mostly used as a box safety, but he can play deep. He's played both free safety and strong, and he allowed only 59.1% completion percentage and a 67 passer rating in 2019 when he last played. So I'd be willing to take a risk on Clinton Dix.
Not mad at that. Not mad at that. Clinton Dix has been rumored around for a lot of Colts fans, talking about question mark who to pick up. Like I said, Kenny Vaccaro, if he was available, that'd be my guy. Do you have anything on DJ Swearinger if he's still available?
I do not know if DJ Swearinger is still available, so can't say for full certainty, but he wouldn't exactly be my first choice. He definitely fills more of a box safety role, in my opinion, and right now we need a guy who's more of a coverage specialist because Kari Willis has been getting beat deep a lot this year. He's been reliable against the run as usual, but at this point, I don't see anyone who I feel comfortable covering those deep middle routes. So we need to kind of fill that hole in our defense.
Well, TJ Carey, I guess you're going to be up whenever he comes back. But I seen I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter, but I think someone was trolling. But someone mentioned Jacoby Stevens, even though we know he plays linebacker at the moment. Though he was one of those guys that on some of those mock drafts that I was doing that I was circling. I was like, we really could probably use him in a late pick. What are your thoughts about that? Even though it's not a possibility.
I mean, I think it could be a possibility. He is now technically a linebacker because that's what the Eagles drafted him, but he is very undersized for a linebacker and kind of underweight for that. So
yeah, he's like 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, he's 6'1", and his weight is 210, 220 pounds, which isn't great, but he's 4.51 speed and has amazing explosiveness. So I think he could be a great linebacker, but personally, he was a career safety for the most part in college. The only other position he played in college was wide receiver coming in, but he's most experienced at a safety. So I don't see what the Eagles are seeing in him moving to linebacker at this point, but I'd be very interested in kicking the tires on Jacoby Stevens from their practice squad. Very athletic. He does not have experience at this point, of course. So we have no idea what he's going to look like at this level. But if we want a long-term kind of bit of a project, but also a potential third safety for the long term and for a starter for right now, I'd be willing to roll the dice on Jacoby Stevens.
That's all of that. But I appreciate you for joining the show and giving me your thoughts on Julian Blackmon. Feel free to comment in the comment section your thoughts about it as well. Where can they find you before I go ahead and close it out?
You guys can find me on Twitter at RobinsLucas, and you can also find me as the lead writer for thebluestable.com.
All right, that is Lucas. This is Marcus. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Subscribe if you haven't already. Also hit the like button and comment. This is Lucas. This is Marcus. And until next time, you've been culture shocked.